third session on this track. And this time we have a panel related to publishing, and more specifically publishing games that are coming from Eastern European teams. Before we get started, this panel will be moderated by Elena. So she will present the panelists and will take over the conversation. But before that, I just wanted to mention that this is a session that is sponsored by XSOLLA, so it's a powered by XSOLLA session, and we have a short video from XSOLLA that will display right now. All right. Elena, you have the stage. Thanks everyone for being here. I'll let you continue.
Thank you so much. So let's start. My name is Elena. I'm a founder at Achievers Hub. This is a platform for indie developers that connects them with mentors, investors, and publishers from all around the world. And today we'll talk about publishing games from Eastern Europe. But before we start, I'd like to get to know a little bit more about you, about our audience. So I have a couple of questions to you. First of all, how many developers do we have here? Okay, good. And how many of you are currently looking for publishers? Okay. And how many of you are already in negotiation, or how many of you already pitched games to publishers? Okay. How do you like it? Well, most of developers we work with at Achievers Hub, they also come from Eastern Europe, and they usually agree that pitching is quite tough. It's a hard and unpredictable work. Sometimes publishers can be late with their replies. Sometimes they don't provide enough feedback. But today we will talk with the other side. We will get to know this situation from publishers' perspective, and they will share some advices and tips for you, as well as challenges and opportunities of working with Eastern European developers. And at this point, I would like to introduce our panelists, or it would be better if they introduce themselves, tell a bit about your companies, about your experience and your current role.
All right, so my name is Hans. I work for Sudesco Publishing, so we publish games on PC and consoles, premium games. I'm on the business development side, so my role is to sign the developers and to work with the platform holders on other business opportunities.
Hello, my name is Andreea Chifu. I am working with a company called Raw Fury. We are a publisher of quirky boutique games on all platforms, primarily premium games. Yeah, we are based in Sweden, but we have colleagues all over the world. Yep.
Hello, my name is Guillaume Verlinden. I'm Senior Game Director at Tilting Point. I'm based in Barcelona. We opened last year an office in Barcelona to increase our footprint in Europe. I'm in charge of a portfolio of games. I'm currently partnering with Metagame. They are based in Bucharest on the release of Zombieland. I will talk a bit more about this. And basically, we complete the developers with some of our experts, mainly on UA, but also customer support, community, design, product. So we offer a full range of services to our partners. And the important message is that we are expanding from Western Europe to Eastern Europe. I will tell you a bit more later.
Hi everyone, I'm Alina. I work at Boombit. What's worth mentioning is that Boombit is initially also a developer, and we started as a game development company, and some time ago we decided to go publishing. So right now I'm in charge of business development for publishing department, and I'm talking to the mobile developers, free-to-play direction mostly. Some of our hit games is Tanks a Lot, which recently actually won the best mobile game in Poznan, which was presented by Elena. Another title is Idle Coffee Corp, which is an idle game. So the games we are looking at actively is mid-core to casual, could be also hyper-casual, and that's basically the direction at the moment. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. We are happy that you all joined us today. And my next question is your general experience of working with Eastern European teams. Have you ever signed any game from here, or maybe at least were in negotiations with the teams from this region?
Can I start? Yeah, well, I'm myself from Ukraine, so that's definitely a very interesting topic in general and discussion to me, since it's very easy for me to talk to, let's say, actually a good question will be, what do we define by Eastern Europe? Because yesterday I had a conversation about it. So to me, Eastern Europe is like, let's say, Ukraine, or maybe like Poland, but to some people from Bucharest, it's actually Romania, Slovakia, Serbia. So let's call it, like, let's take it wide. So I would be talking more about the direction of Russian, Ukrainian-speaking developers, probably, because that's where I come from. I'm based myself in Germany, however, so it's also like opening the doors to talk to people the same language with different countries. What I can say is that I didn't have a chance to sign a deal yet with Eastern European developers and publishers, but what I've noticed so far that is a huge amount of talented people who actually look actively to the gaming sector, mobile sector, casual sector specifically. That's what at least I deal with. So I definitely would say that this is probably would be the most exciting and interesting goal, to work with Eastern European companies and to do a win-win partnership together.
And well, for Tilting Point, we have many connections here already. We have received some pitches, and we are in advanced discussion with some partners already. But we have, I think, one of our preferred or best partners is based in Romania, in Bucharest. I mentioned it, Metagame. Basically, and how we partnered with them, they had this very great game, Tab Busters, and we started to collaborate on this game. And we have this approach of long-term relationship with the developers. So it's not a deal with one game, it's a relationship when you sign with us. And with leveraging on this experience of idle games with the Tab Buster, and also we had an opportunity of working with Sony on an IP, on the Zombieland IP. We built this relationship, and together we co-developed Zombieland Double Tapper that was released only 3 weeks ago. So we have this great experience in Bucharest with Metagame and some other partners that we are currently discussing with. We have a plan to expand our footprint in Eastern Asia. One of them is to have some BD resources allocated to the area. That's something that we'll comment we'll do some official announcement in the coming weeks, but I can tell you that there will be contacts more in Eastern Europe.
Myself, I'm Romanian, and both Trofury and the previous company, Paradox Interactive, I tried quite a bit to get some games from the area, at least one game from Romania, but so far it wasn't meant to be. At Trofury, we have now a game that is in development, is done by a team originally from Russia. They are not all living in Russia any longer. That is the only project we have so far. And we were in discussions with other teams, both in Romania and in other places, but because of the way we work, we don't always synchronize. The idea is that we are looking for games that have, some quirkiness, like emotion, things that stand out. We don't look at KPIs or like, oh, this is going to be very commercial. We like to find those kind of gems that are so different than what's out there. And also we get involved quite early on. And sometimes we found some games, but it was maybe not the right time for us. The game was already done, so it just didn't happen as much.
So we worked with one team from Eastern Europe. It went quite well. It was definitely different. I mean, their written English was quite good, but their spoken English could have been better, and that did not help. Luckily, we had a producer in our team that spoke the same language as them, so that helped a lot in the process. But yeah, it helps if you speak English a lot.
Yeah, that's true. This is what I always say to developers: is if they want to be successful and if they want to successfully pitch a game and find a publisher, they should learn English for sure. And but from your perspective, even when you received some games, how would you rate the overall quality of the games that are coming from Eastern Europe, comparing to the rest of the world?
The games or the pitches?
Now we're talking about games, but you can talk about both games and pitches.
So the pitches are not very good, but to be fair, I rarely get good pitches in general. What I want in a pitch is someone explaining to me why I should play their game. And it seems very simple, but rarely it includes just that. It includes what the game is, but it very rarely includes why should I play your game. So include that and some video footage. Don't send me the build in the first email. And then that will help. In terms of the games, I think there's a lot of talent. The downside for the industry here is that it's a bit younger, which means there's less capital in this area, which means that I get a lot more pitches from here that need the entire budget. And asking any publisher, any investor to step on board with you for 1.5, 2 years, that is a very big ask. So if I look at the games we do each year, is that where we put the most funding in are our own. Because then we own the IP, then we own the game, then we own everything. The ones in third-party publishing are more on the way that we guarantee part of the revenue. And if you don't have the money to develop the game, then that's not possible. So that makes it a bit harder in this area.
For quite some time, there was, this perception that in Eastern Europe you just, see like a lot of casual games, a lot of mobile games, and maybe more like sometimes, some more like hardcore, like history games, especially when you look towards Russia. Recently I've seen like, there are changes there. That is not necessarily the case any longer. But I still think that in most pitches they focus on like mechanics. They focus on like, oh, this I know it sells very well because PUBG is doing it, so I just want to make another PUBG or something like that at a smaller scale. Or you focus on mechanics and you just want to make like a different game that is so similar to something that's already out there, and there's not enough courage to try to do something else. And maybe the creativity is not always there as well. And that is maybe part of because, the safety net is not there in Eastern countries. And also there haven't been for quite some time. Many schools in the areas, many schools specialized in art, in games, many schools that are encouraging and trying to help you embrace new things and own like your vision and what you're trying to do. I think that is kind of challenging. It's like there are not so many things like sparks in the pitches we receive.
I was preparing this question last week, and I asked my colleagues and friends in my network, what do you think is the best quality of Eastern Europe developers? Because I don't have that experience dealing with Eastern Europe studios, and I wanted to know a bit more. And 100% of them mentioned the technical quality, the production quality in general, but especially the technical quality. I did some investigation, and it seems that there is a fantastic public education system for the engineers, and you have this capacity. I think that's one of the reasons. So we see a lot of quality in the games or in the pitch on the technical side. In terms of creativity, honestly, I haven't seen enough pitches to draw conclusions. I'm not in BD, I'm focusing more on the product. But what I have to say is that I'm amazed by some games that are coming from Eastern Europe. The ones that are, at least the ones that are successful, because as a player, I'm a big fan of, even on PC games. One of my favorite games is Frostpunk. That's fantastic game, and on mobile I'm completely hooked by Thanks a Lot. That there are fantastic games. I think there is a lot of creativity. We saw it with the Russian games coming from Dev.Play, Playrix, are the biggest one of course, but there is a unique mix of a smart combination of very interesting ingredients. And sometimes very innovative, very fresh approach. I was discussing with some developers from Poland some time ago, and they had an idea of a football game that was completely different. They approach from a very unique angle what is a football game. So I was quite impressed by the quality of the creativity and the freshness of the few propositions I've seen.
I would like to mention a couple of crucial points in my opinion, because everyone is saying rather good things or bad things about the pitches and games, and I was thinking a lot what's missing, because I've seen a lot of bad pitches and I've seen a lot of good pitches, same as good and bad games, but what I thought is, I was questioning like what's missing. So on my opinion there are two things that developers don't take into consideration. First of all, there is not enough of critical thinking in general. Since this industry is insanely competitive, it's getting even more and more competitive every minute, and I'm talking more about mobile now since I'm focused on mobile. So every time I meet developers, they believe in their game like it's their child, and that makes sense because they worked on it and they think it's perfect. However, I think to actually succeed, first of all, you need to answer yourself, what's the goal? You want to do what? You want to do a beautiful game, or you want to make money, or you want to do both? So if you want to do both, then you have to think about actually like what are the risks? What is your audience? Why do you actually want to do the clone of this existing game? This is what I see a lot as well. Like we are copying this and this mechanic because this and this were the greatest hits. So why do you think this will actually work? And what is going to happen if it's not going to work? Maybe take into consideration like not only the good parts, not only the parts that you will have millions on your account after you launch the game with a publisher. So that's my perspective, number one. In terms of Eastern Europe approach in general, what I noticed is that guys from Eastern Europe, the developers, they are very brave and mature in terms of trying something new. They are more probably like not scared to fail, which is also actually good because this is how you probably can succeed. So this is what I can see, this courage that, okay, we did this and this is not working, so we are doing it again and we are doing it something differently. So second point that's missing is that actually doing some tests. Like sometimes I see the game that it looks fantastic, it looks beautiful, but there is no data behind it. If there is no data behind it, then like it's already a black box, you don't know. But if there is some data and probably you understand that the metrics are not perfect, but there is a chance you can increase the metrics by improving some things in the game, changing the mechanics, working harder on meta, let's say changing the art style or anything else that probably can change the data, then it probably will be more reasonable to succeed. So that would be my like suggestion to the developers, because it's huge competition and it's really hard to stand out. And I think that like by this sort of approaches, it maybe will increase the chances to finding the perfect publisher and just having a couple of millions on your account. Thanks.
Okay, as Guillaume mentioned, Eastern European developers are well known for good technical skills. It's also one of the reasons why this region is an outsourcing hotspot, because many companies, they hire outsourcing teams from this region. And but on the other hand, this the situation when the Eastern European countries became well known for outsourcing had also a backside, because for a long time companies from this region were considered mainly as cheap hands and not as a creative headquarter. And from my point of view, the situation is changing over years, and I realized that more and more talented creative developers, game designers are coming from here. Did you notice any change over the last years? Is it getting better? Is it getting more creative? Is it getting more mature? What did you notice in this regard?
It's true that Eastern Europe has been like a strategic objective for some Western companies to lower their costs and have some development done in the Eastern Europe. I remember some years ago, and not only in gaming, people were saying cost reduction, we want to do cost reduction, let's go to Eastern Europe. And I'm seeing more and more, we want to be cost efficient. That's almost a synonym, but what it means exactly is that it's not only about cost anymore. The quality has increased a lot. So you don't want to have very cheap engineers because they will just do a big volume of work. You're looking for very smart people, if possible, a bit cheaper than similar profiles on the West, but you want reliable partners. And I think this is why so many companies now are going to Eastern Europe to invest. It really became like a strategic hub for game development. So that's very important to process this information and propose another card, put another card on the table, not position yourself as only cost reduction, but there is so much talent in the ideas. We mentioned several times about the design, the creativity. That's something that is even more important than the pure cost reduction.
What I've noticed is that actually right now it's slightly different and things are changing in terms of Eastern Europe, and cost efficiency is already not even there. It was like there like 3 years ago, probably, yes, that was the reasons why everyone went there. Now it's actually growing, and I would say it's getting more and more mature, it's getting more expensive. It's not the cost efficiency anymore, which I think it's a good sign. And definitely I would agree about the creativity. I would agree about this bold approaches, like looking at Belarus, looking at Ukraine, Russia as well, like Poland. All these countries are showing the maturity in game development direction. So that would be like, it's already like not like that anymore. And I heard this from other people just sharing their thoughts that like, yeah, it's actually not cheap anymore. You can find the cheaper developers with good quality in other countries than, let's say, Ukraine. However, I think like what was about Ukraine, that it still continues to keep the good quality traction. So probably that's how it's still around, and that's how the market evolves.
Some things that I noticed in the last years is that there are some local heroes who they are doing so much work because they really care about the industry and they really want the industry, to grow. So you have Cătălin and his team in Romania. I know, Elena, you do a lot of things as well on your end. And this helps so much the local industry. Like, the progress is slow, but the fact that, they facilitate bringing international speakers, they facilitate, the sharing of knowledge. This is it's such a big thing. And I really hope that all of you are, fully taking advantage of all these things. Because one of the biggest problems for developers in Eastern Europe is that it's very expensive to go to big conferences and, learn there and connect. I know I heard some statistics going to Gamescom from someone from, is it like Germany or somewhere maybe in Switzerland, it cost them, having a booth there maybe cost them like 2 man mounts, like 2 salaries, while for someone from Ukraine or other places it costed like 10 salaries, 13 salaries. So that is it's a big difference. So, seeing more of these kind of events and opportunities, it's great, So it's so nice that every country now they have at least one conference or one conference in the region. And I think that I've seen also some progress on the knowledge the developers have about the industry, which was totally different 10 years ago. When I was here 10 years ago, I didn't know almost anything. I didn't know there is something bigger out there. I didn't know, I didn't have contacts or anything like that. So it's such a big, it's a big change now. And I've seen recently in the last years, some small teams that they had the courage to go and try their own things, and especially, for the kind of games we are looking at, Draw Fury, here in Bucharest, I noticed, we have the guys from Door Kickers, we have this game Interrogation, we have those awesome guys, Gibbles, these very, very nice games that you hear about them even outside the country. So that is nice, but it's still quite slow, I would say.
So if you look at the Western European and Scandinavian market, is that they profited a lot because a lot of those games came out in a time when there was a huge demand for games. So they released the game, and even the ones that were on a 7-8 scale level sold really, really well because there was a huge demand for games. The problem was that also in Western and Europe and Scandinavia and the UK, developers are not really good in doing business. So with the market maturing, with the competition increasing a lot of those developers got in trouble or are getting in trouble. I mean, I get a lot of pitches from developers that had a very successful game that still need to ask publishers for money, which simply means that somewhere down the road in their business model, something didn't go so well. So if you look at that and then you look at Eastern Europe, then yes, the technical skills are good and yes, there's a lot of creativity, but it also means that because the costs are still lower, that there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity to find your place in this new market, in this market with a lot of competitions, because, I mean, the publishers are going to look for places where they don't have to pay Western Europe or Scandinavian salaries to see, hey, the quality is good, games are good, but we can get them cheaper. That doesn't mean you need to repeat the mistakes of the Western European developers, but it does mean that there is a huge opportunity in the next 3 years to do better, to be better.
Yeah, it's quite inspiring. And well, we all agree that technical skills are great and the creative skills are improving a little bit slowly, but still. And as Andreea mentioned, the ecosystem is also improving. That's true that we have more and more events every year. We have more and more organizations. For example, in Ukraine and Russian-speaking countries, we started doing this surveys and industry maps. I know you have it in Romania too. There is some industry survey overall. We never had it before, and it's really cool that it's improving. But also, we already talked a lot about pitching skills, that pitching skills are not that great at the moment, and it's one of the weakest side of Eastern European developers. Now I would like to hear maybe some examples of good pitches that you had. You mentioned that you're not getting too many good pitches, but maybe some example, or what would be your ideal pitch from developer?
That's a hard question. So I mentioned it earlier already a bit, is that I want to know why I should play your game, or why someone in that genre should play the game. I get so many pitches where I only start to understand what they're trying to do on the final page of the pitch. So I think if you look at a good pitch, it starts with asking the right, or giving answer to the right questions. I mean, there's still a lot of developers who think that even when they need a lot of money, they can still surprise or convince us with a good pitch. But if you're asking for an amount of money that we simply don't have, then it doesn't matter how good your pitch is, we're not going to do it. So it's already a better pitch if you just start in your first email with, hey, this is the game, this is why you should play it, and this is what we need. It's like 2 alineas long of an email. That would already be a very good pitch. After that, you can, especially if I know the genre very well, you can convince me in 10 seconds with a good trailer, with a good couple of screenshots, with a good story, with everything.
The idea is that there are a lot of publishers out there, like so many, and I know it's difficult to, it takes a lot of time to pitch to publishers, to get their contacts, send emails, to get in touch with them. It's a lot of work, and it's not easy at all. But I think you would save yourself also some time if you would research a little bit the companies first, and if possible, send that pitch only if you think they are going to be a good fit for you. I have the experience working with 2 publishers so far, and I've seen, so many of them, they send games that it's very obvious that we wouldn't do, and same when I was at Paradox, Paradox is known for some certain type of games. Why would you even bother to send something that is not for them? You just start on the wrong foot. You would be just a team that didn't make any effort in researching whom you want to work with, and that's not how you start a collaboration. And secondly, for us at Fury, we would appreciate if you would send something interesting that would make us remind why this game is special. So a funny GIF, a funny trailer, some a very cool asset there, because we receive so many pitches and we meet with so many talented teams, different events. But I can tell you that sometimes I have meetings with so many teams, and at the end of the day, I don't remember that game, what was it about, or that team, what was it. So make sure when you talk to a publisher, make sure there is one thing that they are going to remember at the end of the day. And same when you send it via email, that try to stand out somehow. And practicalities, what we look at when we get the pitches, it's important to get an understanding about the game, what kind of game it is, more or less a budget and a timeline. The budget is never going to be that one. The publisher is there to help you as well, to anchor it, and for you to have more realistic estimations. But more or less an idea about that, and the playable demo. Yeah, it's something that we look at. And we on our end, we don't look at the, forecasts or things like this, or analytics or this kind of data. But that is only us, because we focus on what the game is about and how this game stands out and the emotions and why it's quirky. But if you submit to someone else, make sure you ask them before, like what is important for them.
At Tilting Point, we have a slightly different positioning because we ideally, you don't need a pitch because you have already an advanced product that is in soft launch or ideally already launched, and we'll test the game, we'll do a deconstruction of the design of the existing product. We'll do some tests on the UA, the potential to scale the game. So that's the ideal scenario. You don't even need a pitch because you have already something concrete to share, and that can be played and that can be tested on the market. So that's the ideal scenario. If you have a pitch, there are different good practices that we have seen. Again, at Tilting Point, we are not looking for one-shots. We are looking for very long-term relationships, and this is what we've done with Metagame. We want to make sure that we can build at least 3 projects with the same team. So it's very important to promote the team, mention in the pitch, or share, introduce your team to the to our BD team as a first contact. That's very, very important. Again, we've seen a lot of pitches of developers feeling forced to do a free-to-play game when actually it was not fitting their philosophy, not fitting the game design or the audience. Free-to-play is, it's the biggest market share, but there are some alternative models that are very interesting. If you don't want to run offers, video ads, or some monetization levers, then probably you need to focus your pitch on different business model. That's something that we see a lot. People feeling forced to do a free-to-play, but not wanting to monetize their game. So that's very important that you have this consistency between your intention and what you really, or what you say you will do and what you really want to do. So business model is also very, very key.
Since I mentioned already a couple of advices I would give regarding the pitches, let's say like take care of the risks and analyze that. I would also like to give an example of, let's say, a good communication. It was not a pitch. For example, I was talking to a developer and he presented me the link to their existing game. He presented me their KPIs. He said, okay, these are our KPIs and they are good here and bad here, and we don't know what to do with this because we improved this and we are looking for this. It was super quick. It was very straightforward, like fantastic. That was that easy. It took like us 5 minutes to figure that out. We had a 30 minutes conversation, and now we're testing their games to see how it's gonna go. We are giving the feedback to proceed and see if we can improve their current situation. And when they already presented us their issues, so it's very, very clear. Another important point that I think it's crucial, and I don't think that everyone kind of like pays attention to this, which is slightly giving a step back regarding the pitch. It's actually generally choosing the partner. So I have a feeling that it's like all the business relationship, they often go from a synergy between companies. Let's say developer and a publisher. Like first of all, the synergy starts with a portfolio, right? Let's say this is the genres that you guys work with and the publisher takes care of. For example, Boombit is a mid-core publisher, and that's why maybe we will have a look at mid-core games. So this is already like a yes. Second one, how do you actually like communication with the partners, how fast it's happening. I had an interesting game that I really enjoyed and my team loved it, but we gave the feedback to that game and we were expecting the developers to give us like a presentation about it, but they didn't come back to me since like few weeks. So what does it mean? It means that there is no synergy. It means this is just not the right partners on this stage, and this should be cut immediately and not wasting each other's time. So I think this is also crucial, like have a look at how you feel about talking to the publisher, how you feel the communication is flowing, because sometimes there are, like I've heard complaints from developers like publishers don't respond us. Well, that's probably because of the reasons. That's probably because of there is not the perfect match to the portfolio, or there are other issues, or there is not enough data, or there is something missing again. So it doesn't mean that like you should just sit chill and do nothing. Maybe sometimes you should follow up and say what's up, or you should consider looking to another publisher or another partner. So it's a whole complex structure that I think matters, and it is all related to, let's say, good pitch. It's probably like the whole pipeline of building the relationship in general between two parties.
I just want to add something really quick. So if you think there is a publisher there that would be a very good fit for you, and they would publish your kind of games, and maybe it didn't work well the first time, don't hesitate to try again later. So once you have a better demo, or all that, or more assets or things like this. So for us, we have 2 games that we said no in the beginning because it didn't look good enough, and then they came back 1 year after, and the game was like, wow, yes, we want this. So it happened twice. So
awesome, yeah. So you shared so many tips already for developers. I hope it was very useful, and we still have some time. Maybe someone from the audience has questions. If you have questions to our panelists, please raise your hand. And I hope somebody will come to you with a microphone. No questions?
I see like a shy hand somewhere there.
Is it? Okay, yeah. I don't see any hands. Maybe it's because of the lights, but okay. So, oh yeah, there is one in the back. Can someone help us? Yeah.
Thanks for the question.
Maybe you repeat just in case, because there is a recording.
Yeah, sure. So the question is if any of publishers is publishing premium games on mobile, right? Okay, cool. So at Boombit, we actually focus on free-to-play. However, we created a separate brand called MindSense, which is actually taking care of, let's say, less hyped games and maybe premium games. And honestly speaking, I wouldn't reject premium game. However, it is very tough now to promote this type of monetization. Let's say it's not a monetization, just a game for money. But we don't say no because, honestly speaking, even 2 weeks ago in Poland, I've seen fantastic games that can only go premium. And they are just masterpieces. And we will try to work on them and to try to push it to the market, even though it's the best way would be to make it premium, because there is still a niche probably, and there is still this demand, and we all know these masterpieces that are, let's say, Monument Valley, the Machinarium, and this kind of style that I personally love. I do agree it's hard, and I do agree it's unlikely that it will be very easy, but answering your question, for example, we wouldn't say no if it's a good project, if there is a potential, and honestly speaking, also very important thing, for example, Boombit or MindSense, we look at the products that are more or less ready to go live, like you mentioned, Guillaume. So, of course, it's not on the prototype stage. However, the project I'm talking about from Poland, it's like 3 weeks prototype. But it looks gorgeous, fantastic, and I'm amazed that there are still like talents like that who can actually try to deliver something like this. So this is definitely a project we would love to go with, and we will continue with the developers, proceeding with like helping them how to push it properly and thinking of like the proper way of releasing the game, even though it's that early stage. So don't block yourself thinking, oh, they're not gonna look at it because you don't know. No one knows. And of course, it's all about the product. It's all about the potential. So it's don't limit yourself with thinking that it's not gonna work. It may work. Thanks.
Just one. So sorry. Yeah. The same for us. We had some successful experience with premium game with like Leo's Fortune. It was a big success on premium games some years ago. That's obviously among all the propositions, we receive probably 1-2% of premium games, and that's consistent with our portfolio. We have probably 1 or 2 games only, but yeah, that's offer and demand. There is no restriction. I think if you have a great game, let's share it, let's discuss. I would admit that we probably have, well, there is less knowledge of how to promote a game, a premium game, but there's many ways to explore, many collaboration, and the doors are clearly open.
We do publish premium games on mobile. We never had a project that was mobile only, so it was other platforms as well. My personal belief is that there is an audience there that that they don't mind paying for the game, and they know what they're gonna get, and instead of getting ads or in-app purchases later on. I'm not saying that is wrong, but there is an audience that prefers premium experiences. Maybe sometimes like these kind of games like gems that don't work with a different monetization model. The market might be smaller than free-to-play, but also like the reality is that there are only like top 10 games in the free-to-play that actually make good enough or money. They're like all the others, they don't do as much, right? So you need a lot of money to maintain a free-to-play game as well. And for us, we just look at at the game, and if we feel that yes, it would make sense also for mobile users that would enjoy this kind of game, we are gonna put it out there. And I have a belief that there are mid-core, hardcore gamers that when they don't play on their PC at home or when they don't play on their console, they are gonna play on their mobile. So yeah. Oh, sorry. And I was very, very happy when I saw that Apple came with Apple Arcade, and especially how they promote it. It's a marketplace for games that don't fit anywhere else, and that's very nice. It connects very well with what we're doing.
So I would say, why pitch some publishers something as a premium mobile game, and why not just look at the type of game, then look at which publishers do that type of game, and then say, hey, I have this game. We're currently developing it on this platform, but it is this game on this engine, and we're open for other options. Because, I mean, the route from mobile to Switch is very short. The route then to Xbox One and PS4 is a little bit longer, but also doable. So I would say don't focus when you talk to publishers too much on the business model first. Say this is the type of game, this is what we're doing. Are you interested in talking with us about it?
Yeah, okay. Anything else to add? Okay, so at this point I would like to thank you all for joining us for this panel. Thank you for your question. We had only one, but still I think it was very important to hear the answers of our publishers. And I really hope that we will get more and more games from Eastern Europe published and well-known around the world soon. Hopefully this panel will also help in this task. Thank you so much. I wish you luck. I wish you to have a great rest of the conference, and be brave. Don't be afraid of approaching publishers. Good luck. Bye-bye.